Show thôi.
Đường xa nắng nóng khiến cả nhóm căng thẳng.
Bật xỉu.
200 mét nữa quẹo trái.
Trời ơi, ứng dụng chỉ thế này sao mà đi? Căng thẳng mệt mỏi phải làm sao đây? Hãy uống ngay trà xanh không độ, được làm từ trà thái nguyên giàu vitamin C và VnExpress, giúp tăng sức đề kháng, giúp cực sảng khoái. Không lo căng thẳng, giải nhiệt đường dài. Cùng tìm đường khác giúp mọi người đến đích. Chill cùng bạn bè tại Không Độ Show. Có trà xanh không độ, không lo căng thẳng mệt mỏi, giải nhiệt cuộc sống.
Welcome to the Debate Challenge 2021, the English division. And now I would like to introduce our adjudicatory board. I would like to introduce Mr. Hoàng Long, Chief Adjudicator of the English division. I would love to introduce Ms. Nguyễn Đluật U, Co-Chief Adjudicator. And Dr. Marisha McAuliffe, Head of Student HQ, Swinburne, Vietnam.
Thank you. Thank you.
And about the most important people of today, we would like to introduce the presence of two competing teams. Debate-ophobia from Lê Hồng Phong Gifted High School Debate Club. Hi. Yes. And D.A.T.A.B team from Abity High School, Cần Thơ. Yes, I believe that right now the contestants of both teams are very eager and ready to enter the upcoming final match. And now we would love to see your spirit of two teams. So team Debate-ophobia from Lê Hồng Phong Gifted High School, please show your spirit to your audiences. Hi, could you wave into the audiences? Yes, thank you. And D.A.T.A.B team from Abity High School, Cần Thơ. Hello. Yes, keep that spirit during the match. Ladies and gentlemen, as previously announced, the final round's motion was announced by the organizers in advance to help teams have the most thorough and detailed preparation. And here, I would like to remind the teams and audience about today's motion again. This house supports the equal pay cooperative model. And here's some background information. In this debate, the equal pay cooperative model had the following major characteristics. Firstly, it does not have a CEO. Secondly, it pays everyone the same rate of salary per hour, regardless of the person's position, gender, and experience. And before starting the match, I would like to invite the representatives of the adjudicator board, Mr. Hoàng Long, who has closely accompanied the teams for a long time in the journey of the Debate Challenge 2021. He will share a few words with the two teams. Please, Mr. Hoàng Long.
Hello, teams. First of all, congratulations, everyone, on making to the finals. I think it's been a quite long journey for you guys, right? And we have a lot of things going on in the preliminary rounds and the out rounds. I think you have learned and grown a lot and received feedback from our world-class judges. And I hope that you're going to show a lot of things like that in our finals today. But remember, this is just another round, right? So be cool with yourself, be confident. And one tip and advice I want to share you as a former debater is that just think that the next 8 minutes of speech you want to have now, as the last minute you want to say a thing about this motion. Very good motion, right? Very interesting one. Yeah, so take that as a chance and then shine.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hoàng Long. And I want to say that we are so honored to have you, Dr. Marisha McAuliffe, Head of Student HQ from Swinburne, Vietnam, to join us as one of our judges. And what do you think about this competition? And do you want to share something to our contestants?
Thank you so much. Yes, it truly is a pleasure to be here today. My name is Dr. Marisha McAuliffe. I'm the Director of Student HQ at Swinburne, Vietnam. As a representative of Swinburne, Vietnam, I believe that debate is fundamental to critical thinking, to academic depth, to integrity and research, all critical aspects of education, and especially here in Vietnam and also in Australia in Swinburne. Swinburne graduates are truly next generation. They are global citizens who have strong skills in the innovation, critical thinking, and are future focused. I'm immensely proud and humbled to be a part of this debate challenge as an invited judge, and I'm sure you will be impressed by your knowledge and critical thinking shown in your debating skills to be seen. I wish all the debaters all the very best, and I know you must be having some nervous tension, but I'm sure that you'll be fine. It's fantastic opportunity. We hope that this debate challenge also inspires you towards thinking about your university education and fine-tuning those skills in preparation for that chapter of your lives. And we also hope to be seeing you at Swinburne, Vietnam in the future. So all the very best, and we are looking very much forward to hearing your points, your viewpoints. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Marisa. And now, come back to our two teams at this English division. How are you feeling at this moment before we starting the match? The debate-ophobia, please?
Well, I believe that not just us, but every individual that is sitting right here are also really nervous because of the upcoming match. But I believe that this will be a really memorable experience for all of us sitting here.
Thank you so much. And about D.A.T.A.B team, how was your preparation process for the final round?
It was a really interesting time for us to prepare for this motion because, we're not econ geeks and we don't really know much about economics, but getting to prep this motion was something like being able to travel to space and learning a lot of new things. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And now I hope that all of you are ready for the final round. And without keeping us waiting any longer, let's start the final of the debate challenge English division with the motion. This house supports the equal pay cooperative model. For this section, the team debate-ophobia will be in favor and the team D.A.T.A.B will be the opposition team. And the first 8 minutes presentation will start from the proposition team. Welcome Anh Minh from the proposition team to have a speech.
Every individual was born equal. There has always been a world with such rights from the very beginning of humanity. It is the work of society through time creating changes that alter and distort this basic right. Prejudice against people, bias towards others, even when it comes to revenue and salary-related matters, this is still prevalent and people cannot do anything about it since they have no power, they have no control. With the work of the government team does not exist such problems. Our policy includes no CEO, but rather a council that functions the same way and performs the same jobs that a CEO does. How can a company with that council work? The company still holds two core positions for a company to actually work, that is the Chief Finance Manager, the CFO, and the Chief Accountant. A CEO may show how an organization should work and which path they should take in the future, but the ones making these plans possible and pragmatic are the CFO and the Chief Accountant. So the opposition team cannot come up here and says that our company in our work cannot work. Our hiring procedure will be applicants having an in-depth job description along with financial remuneration and bonus policies to make up for the fixed salaries. We pay them per hour, so employees can work how many hours they want. And if the employees perform exceptionally, they should get bonus. Those with higher positions will get to experience such privileges as getting shares of the company, which can be used for stocking purposes. The best part of the bonus policy is that the opposition team can never get in the word, is that we actually encourage our employees as well as assuring ourselves that they will be more likely to maintain their commitment, thanks to the fact that the more they contribute to their company, the more it grows, then the higher the value the stock will become on the market. So how will this satisfy the more experienced, the more wealthy employees, the ones that are of great value? One thing we have to bear in mind throughout this whole debate is that rich people's income does not mainly come from their salary. It is their investments, whether in real estate, which are or more popular yet risky stocks. As a matter of fact, these bonus policies recognize their effort and contribution, and these actually account for their income more than any other high-paid job in the opposition team. A preemption we got for the opposition team is that they cannot say that in their work, employees are encouraged if they have chances to increase their salary. We think this is false, because when someone begins their job at a certain company, two things that are inevitable to them are bias and those who already got a higher salary than them, those who have proved their position and their skills with the CEO of the company in the opposition team's world. So the CEO will tend to pay more attention to those with larger responsibilities. What happens to newcomers is that they need a lot of time to prove their skills, which varies at a great amount of time. And no one would want to stay committed if the chances of getting promoted is relatively low. Coming to our first argument, non-discrimination and equality is a human right. And we believe that such is irrefutably true. In the world of the opposition team, there are two types of pay discrimination. The first one is the different pay is given to the workers despite the same job they're doing. For instance, a female and male policeman with the same qualifications and seniority and responsibility will get equal pay in our world because there is no bias. Or certain corrupted mindsets, like sexism in this case, can be applied. But in the world of the opposition team, there exists such. This form of discrimination goes against the principle of equal pay and equal work. Since in 2020, women earn 84% of what men earned. Moreover, when women enter particular traditionally male occupations, they usually get underrated as well, since prejudices that women are intellectually and physically weaker than men, then they should earn less. This is morally wrong. We believe that the same old problem that has been going on since time immemorial, that women has been seen as the one being inferior, has never been true. The stubborn mindsets are things human can only affect, not control. And when high-positioned individuals in a company, for instance, a manager, underpay, underestimate, or underrate women, the opposition team cannot solve this conundrum. The second type of discrimination is that jobs in different content but of equal value also receive a different pay. For example, a coder, which is usually conceived as the male job, earns more than a designer writer in the same company. Again, this is due to prejudices and stereotypes. And also traditional job evaluations methods like male jobs are more valuable than women's ones, which are all assumptions that has caused a tremendous and horrendous impacts in our world, because the opposition world doesn't pay equally for the job that they have equal values. It would establish a hierarchy where male-dominated jobs are at the top, which is an undervaluation of female jobs. This leads to an impact of worsening the status quo of a world where male domination is more widespread and more widely witnessed, despite movements and revolutions going against this, because as I mentioned earlier, they can only impact, not control. This is why women are paid 22.6% less than men with similar education and experience, and women are paid less in an average of 12% than men who do the same job as them. So what does our policy bring about for the vulnerable stakeholders? We encourage female students and female beings to choose typically male-dominated disciplines and jobs. We allow both parents to more easily balance work and family, so as to ensure that women's work experience and seniority are not penalized. We encourage unionization in jobs where women are heavily represented, like part-time or fixed-term and home-based work, as well as in personal services. In our world, more democracy and freedom, whereas the current status quo and the world of the opposition team that I have been mentioning does not have. These are the exclusive values that only in the world of the government team which we can fully acquire. We don't have such problems such as those who work very little because we pay these employees thanks to hourly wages. If they have no responsibility with their job, they may get running mouths, and as a work status quo, they may get fired. And we also gave them a detailed job description, so applicants will be well expected of what their job is about. We protect those who have uncertain schedule. We protect the people who got their pay delayed, such as undergraduates, and we protect people in the vulnerable groups, such as women. It is a problem of the emergency humanity has been making impacts on, a problem with great scale and long-term effects. The long-term effects can bring actual changes. That's the end of my speech.
Thank you so much, Anh Minh. And now, I would love to welcome Phương Thảo from the opposition team.
Dear panel, we sit here today connected through technology, international networking, and competing in this knowledgeable debate to protect the poor, the marginalized, less fortunate group from being suppressed by the rich. But what we don't realize is what we're doing at the moment is already seen as a wealthy life for girls our age in Africa, struggling to fight the epidemic and their historical reign of patriarchy. Op believes no world has a right to shame the rich and saintly sympathize the poor. We believe the existence of rich and poor has been present since the beginning of time and can never vanish. The rich and poor impact greatly on each other. It is then our society's choice to make that decision of how this impact benefits both ends. God could not do this because they tried so hard to make rich people sound bad and forgot that many benefits that they bring, not just for the economy, but also for the poor. We believe that every person has their own right to strive and deserve the benefits received from it. The economy can only thrive when people have the desire to climb the economic ladder. Hence, the poor can only get a better life when the economy is thriving. And before I get into my definitions, I would like to go into a couple of rebuttals for the government team. So first, they give us a ton of assumptions when they say that we are assumpting things, which is really weird because we haven't said anything in our argument. And the largest fault that they had was they did not have a very structured case setup, which made us really confused because most of their mechanisms were based on really big assumptions. So first, they tell us that they are not going to have a CEO, but they're going to have a CFO and a chief accountant that functions the same as the CEO. Well, we believe that this is not going to happen because clearly the promotion in the debate here is that they say that we CEOs are not allowed to make the ultimate decision. And without this ultimate decision, there's no point in having a CFO or a chief accountant. And you have to ask the question, do they really make the decisions, or do they just count the votes that the people, the members in the company make? And no, thank you. So the second thing they say is that they go into the argument of they say that in our world, we have a lot of biases, and in their world, there will be no biases. Well, you can't just pay women equally, and then everyone in society will stop their prejudices. The fact that you're paying women equally, we don't even have a mechanism for that impact on the society and to change people's mind about how women, those prejudices and about the discrimination for women in society. And also you say that we have assumptions, and you say that we don't have equal pay for women in the same position. Well, we believe that in our side of the house, in the status quo right now, we have the equal pay employment law in the status quo, which means that everyone in the same company, in the same position, regardless of gender, regardless of sex, regardless of disability, or regardless of anything of that sort, will be able to be paid. Will be able to be paid equally as long as they're in the same position. And so with that being said, we would like to go into some of our definitions and our case setup and our arguments. So first, definitions. What is a company's purpose? So a company's main purpose is to make a profit and serve for a cause, right? So the profit, almost all companies are established and developed to make economic profits as well as increase their net worth and shares. Profits not only keep one's company running, but also helps to develop the company to a higher level. Basically, you can't really do anything without money, right? So, and the second thing is cause. They want to contribute to the society and make the world a better place. So next, we need to define what a CEO is, because government basically did no definition of this. So a CEO, which stands for Chief Executive Officer, is the highest ranking individual in the company or organization. The CEO is responsible for the overall success of a business entity or other organization and for making top-level managerial decisions. They may ask for input on major decisions, but they are the ultimate authority in making final decisions. And CEOs, like any other decision, can be changed accordingly to the satisfaction of the customers, employees, and the board of directors. They are chosen carefully by the board of directors through many aspects like expertise, social networking, and experience. And here we need to define what the nature of salary is. So salary is the monetary expression of the value of goods and the labor of workers to compensate for the loss of labor spent in the process of production business. So we need to focus on three purposes of paying a salary. So the first one is the function of the salary is to maintain effective long-term working capacity on the basis of salary, and must ensure to compensate for wasted labor, to encourage increased productivity and create excitement at work, and promote the spirit of creativity and self-study to improve the members' professional skills so that they can work with the highest efficiency and receive the most satisfactory salary. And labor is what creates the value of goods and services of a company. The second of all is labor supervision. It helps the companies to make sure that their employees are working efficiently and worthy of the salary. And the third is labor conditioning. Here, the function of salary is to ensure a reasonable labor coordination rule. Workers will go from low-wage places to high-wage places with a satisfactory salary. They will do their job well assigned. So what does it mean to evaluate based on experience? It is very hard to measure one's experience. We have different lives in different environments in different ways. But one thing that we can be sure of is that people who have more experience are more devoted to their field of work. For example, they learn more, they work harder, and they travel more. And all of these can be represented through printed records and portfolios, also known as CVs. And so how does the motion function in status quo? We will focus on four things. The first one is all members have equal rights to contribute to the company's decision. The equal pay cooperative model looks like that. And the second thing is equal sharing of profits and losses of the company. And the third thing is no CEO and no business management board. And fourth is equal pay rate regardless of position, gender, and experience. And so how are business in the status quo paid? So the equal pay for the same positions in the company, and they pay extra for people with higher experience in their fields. This looks like higher pay for CEOs than company managers, higher pay for successful computer programmers with experience in AI machine learning than a postgraduate employee with 2-year educational record. So in this debate, we'll be protecting two main stakeholders, employees and employers. So employees, we have the low-position employees, high-position employees, and the marginalized communities. Employers, we have the small communities and the large corporations, which pay differently for their salary. And to be able to win this debate, we believe that there's one metric, which is the equality for the marginalized workforce and the boost of economic growth. Going to our first argument, the new business model is worse than the ones in the status quo. So why is the status quo good? So first, CEOs make better decisions because CEO alone experience the meaningful outside at an enterprise level and is responsible for the understanding, interpreting, and advocating for it, and presenting it so that the company can respond in a way that enables sustainable sales, profit, and total shareholder return growth. It's a job that only CEOs can do because everyone else in the organization is focused much more narrowly and for the most part in one direction. And the CEO can see opportunities that others don't see, and as the one person whose boss isn't another company employee, makes judgments and tough calls others are unable to make. And the CEO is also only held accountable for performance and the results of the company, according just to its rules, but also to measures and the standards of diverse and often competing external stakeholders. They make the last decision based on proposals from lower positions, and they play as a judge to choose which proposal will be most effective and least costly for the company. Even if a CEO might take a decision based on personal preferences, we believe that this is not a harmful decision because CEOs face the burden of directly compensating with the consequences if they make a bad decision. Therefore, they must always choose a proposal with least harm for the company. And number two, thus business model leads to worse decision making because A, they ignore the reality that this democratic model of cooperatives ignore the reality that there are groups that are dominant over the other. Examples such as men are dominant in the group of STEM. The dominant groups too strongly exercises some powers of control over the interests of small groups. On the surface, you may say that everyone is equal and has the right to vote equally, but truly the majority votes will still override the minority, leading to no certain equality whatsoever. And this will lead to why is this important? So the precise and wise decision making is the key factor in developing a company. Carrying out a really wise decision is like taking the right road on the highway. You must focus on your destination and pavement of the road you're on. If you decide to go on a destination that doesn't have what you need in it, it will be a waste of time, effort, and money. So what is the impact of this argument? We proved why 1, companies and CEOs function better. 2, the pluralistic democracy does more harm than good in a business, and 3, decision making is crucial. With that, we are so proud to oppose.
Thank you so much, Phương Thảo from the opposition team. 2 teams, please note that if you present for more than 8 minutes and 15 seconds, what you say at the extra time will not be recognized. Thank you. And here's the second round of the speeches. Don't forget each team will also have 8 minutes for this part. Welcome Minh Hằng, representative of the proposition team.
Let's come with some rebuttals first. So your rebuttals are nothing but rather miscapturing what our Prime Minister have said because he had made preemptions to prevent the point from being valid. So firstly, you are talking about we have no mechanism to reduce the prejudice towards women. But in our second argument, I will prove why we can do that. And secondly, you said about the rich rights of no one would have the right to affect them. But I mean, why wouldn't we trade off some rich very... We have 2 points of this. Firstly, that my Prime Minister have said that the wealth of the rich is not based on the salary mostly, but it is based on what? It is based on the investment on other things. So what does it mean? When we reduce some of their salary, it does not make too much change to the wealth, but that little change to the poor one, it will make their life being changed for the whole life. So why is that? I'm going to prove it in my second argument. So, and something you said about your policy, our policy is not going to work because the CEO, your CEO would have the better point of view. Then we have merged our definitions with our policy that we have proved why without CEO, the companies will still work with our chief executor and also the CFO. So our point will stand firmly because you did not rebut anything. So let's come to our second argument. The equal pay cooperative model makes sure that people have the motivation to work. We are sure that we have the motivation for them to work as hard as possible at their profession. And also we have reduced the social gap and the gender inequality significantly. So firstly, let's come to how many stakeholders do we have. My Prime Minister have put the benefits for the rich and the company itself. And right now I will prove that we also have benefits for the workers, the society, and the minority group, which are women and the poor. So firstly, I want to repeat a very important thing, that we are still able to maintain 2 things. Firstly, is the company's wealth that my Prime Minister has proved, and secondly, it's a motivation for workers that they will always produce good outcome. Why? Because in our world, people who are hardworking, who contributed more in their work at their own missions, and who accept to sacrifice their time for extra hour work will earn more money. Since our equal pay model is about pay rate in hours. So, for example, a man work in a human resource department in a food company, and a woman who work in the factory where they produce food. So they all earn the same rate of money. And knowing that this is their only choice and they just cannot be promoted or changed anywhere to earn more money. So what does it mean? The only way to earn more money is only to work hard, to contribute more. And now that ultimate goal is the income, not the promotion, which is essential for their life and effective. So this is our first motivation why everyone would try their best at our world. Secondly, our second motivation we make sure that people still have to be hardworking is our terms in our contract. Why? Because in our terms, we have punishments for people who is lazy. For example, if the leader or the teammates reported that this person, they were late for the deadline for like more than 3 times a month, they're fired. So in order to maintain the job, they must be serious with their choice. So psychologically, there are 2 main ways to encourage people to doing something: to reward them or to punish them. So we both have rewarding and we both have punitions, which means that we can make sure that people will work as hard as possible very effectively. So that is our mechanism to maintain the quality of the outcome and the wealth of the company. So secondly, let's come to our next value, that we can also change the society both in the material world and in the cognition world. So firstly, we are reducing the social gap. Why? We do have a social gap in our world. This thing separates this world into 2 levels. Firstly is the rich and second is the poor. The rich has a beautiful life, powerful life, while the other group is in the bad conditions, worrying about every meal and never being exposed to an enjoyable life. And even worse, the poverty can even make the poor become criminals, and that makes both the life and the reputation of the poor is bad. So in your world, there's no justice for the poor, and life just went more wrong and wrong since you don't have any help for them. As our research, the gap between the poor and the rich has reached its climax at the largest ever recorded in the last 15 years in the US. So which means that the social gap, we have to admit that is so bad. And to helping the poor right now is the top 1 agency because of their lack of food. I'm not going to take it. And without helping them, the society would only go down. So in our policy, why could we help them? People are paid the same rate of salary with our policy. As long as they work hard, they will have the money. So I don't take it. So the rich, they maybe gain a little bit less, but that won't affect their life too much. Because why? People is still like investing in some others company so that they can still have the wealth. But the poor, just some more in their income, they can make their life condition change so significantly. They can afford food and education. So no, I'm not take that. So to reduce the social gap, we can reduce the social gap because our poor can develop and our rich just like below a little bit. We can trade off that in order to help the poor. And thirdly, why could we help decrease the gender inequality in pay rate? So, yes?
Okay, so your stakeholders, you say they are the marginalized groups and companies. How do you make sure that the corporate model will not undermine their votes and go majority?
Sorry, I don't understand your point.
So you say that your stakeholders, they are the marginalized groups in the companies. How do you make sure that the corporate model will not undermine their votes and go with the majority votes?
So, okay, let's talk about that. Maybe the speed in the beginning might be slow, but as time goes by, more poor would get more job and then have more money, then this will help the society exponentially. So let's come to why could we help reduce the gender inequality. So right now the women is now being paid equally to the men. So what does the society see? The women now can earn and can do as much as what men could. So which means that it helps reduce the cognition things about like why the women could do the same as men. So what does it mean? The money in your world used to be the scale to measure people, but now in our world, women is on the same level, in the same scale with men, and paid the same as men. So which means right now in our world, the women gain more respect, more chances, more money, and that is going to be like what the value that you just cannot achieve in your world. And thirdly, we can assure that we could spread the message that our Prime Minister has said that all jobs are worthy enough to be respected. So which means that every job used to be judged by the salary rate. Maybe the doctor should gain more than some people who is working like cleaning or something. But everyone should gain the respect. And now, in our world, when everyone like having the same rate of salary, which means that people are in the same scale. So there's no more problem of the worker who is not as good as an officer. So we find justice for every job. So in conclusion, we are helping the minority group, giving an effective chance for the poor to change. We are reducing the social gap, the gender gap, changing the society's cognition, but still assure that the company can still be healthy. So that is why I'm so proud to be in the government team right now, because we are trying to praising this model. Thank you.
Thank you so much, the support team. And now I would like to invite Thiên An from the opposition team.
Okay, thank you. God just comes here and tells me that they will maintain the ultimate equality that they're romanticizing as justice. How do you maintain fairness when there is no absolute fairness in society? That is, everyone is not born at the same spot with the same backgrounds and living conditions. So even if you treat them equally, there will always be a distance between social groups. So in this second speech, I'll prove how government have failed their case by chasing an untrue justice. So here are some of my arguments on some of my rebuttals on your model. So first, you say that instead of a CEO, you have a council that can still function in behalf of the like a CEO, but is not actually a CEO. Is it really the equality when you still allow a group of people having more authority than others and are more superior in that collaborative model? This is against your goal, the goal that both two speakers of the government have set from the first place, and you also don't give us a clear mechanism. Why is it truly fair? And secondly, you say that you can let these workers get bonus. Well, I do believe that even if in that case with your model, not everyone have equally the chance to get bonuses, and then not everyone get the chance to be treated equally. So you talked a lot about gender equality. So now I'm gonna rebut this with also about gender equality. So you're saying that you're gonna treat men and women fairly, but in this case, when you allow bonuses, men can work for more hours and get more bonuses than women, because women are also stuck with other duties, for example, motherhood. How can you prove that you can totally maintain this gender equality in your case? And you also talked about trading off the rich in your world, and then giving about motivation, and I'm gonna rebut it when I get to my arguments. Okay, so this is our second argument. Paying an equal salary for different positions and experience makes the problem worse. So in this big argument, I have three mini arguments. First one, occupational imbalance. Let's see. Imagine I'm a member of an equal pay cooperative model. I used to want to strive for a higher level department in the company. Say one that has to do with paperwork, which requires a longer time to study for and more busy days. But then I realized I can still be in my current position. Let's say a normal guard, but still I'm paid the same with someone devoting many times more than me. Why do I have to sacrifice more just to get the same amount of money? I lost that kind of motivation. And so I'm happy to aim for a lower position so that I won't have to put in too much effort. This is what happens in your world. When you kill a person's motivation to pursue something higher by telling them that everything is the same, everything is treated the same, then if many people do this at once, there will be a huge imbalance in the job market. This is the impact. A, lack of high-level people to do high-level jobs. Obviously, if everyone aims for a lower place and doesn't pursue high qualifications, no one is good enough to handle advanced positions. But you cannot run a company with just low positions. So these jobs are still in demand within a company, especially if they can be decisive to a company's survival, like managerial jobs. And the lack of people who can and will take this responsibility can cause a very huge crisis within a company and then in the job market. B, great competition and greater chance of unemployment in lower positions. As for people increasingly competing for the low positions so that they feel less pressured and more idle, they actually face more pressure now in their world because they have to compete with too many people applying for that position. When the competition is high, it is clear that there will be people that won't get the job. As they don't invest in their studies to be more qualified to find other jobs, many will fall into unemployment. A crisis of unemployment with a crisis of lack of human resources combined can cause the economy to be unable to function normally. Second mini argument, the economic stagnation. So when you operate the equal pay model, people that are so highly qualified and those that do not have as much amazing potential can't be together in a team. Why? Because it will become unfair to higher level people if they dedicate their creativity and intelligence into developing the company, but is seen as equivalent to someone who do lower jobs. So in the first place, you'll have to be more picky in terms of who can be recruited. And second, because there aren't many geniuses, you'll have to accept more average people in the company and then lose the talent groups to other companies that offer a higher salary. More problems occur when everyone within a company are all the same. There is no innovation. No one at a higher level can show them what needs to be improved. And everyone is equal. So there's no competition is needed, no motivation to develop. And the company can only exist faintly in a bunch of many companies if it doesn't develop and wait for a time when it's completely eradicated from the ever-changing marketplace. Another huge impact on the economy is the marginalization of small companies. Oh, no, thank you. As we mentioned before, greater people will have to find an environment with equally great people. In this case, that is bigger companies. What happens then? On one side, we have already big companies continuing to dominate the marketplace with their powerful labor force. And on the other side, there's small companies with average to low qualified people working together with no further market scale companies to finally the last mini argument. The marginalized groups will get worse. This is the fact where we touch more on motivation. So we have to agree on both sides that the rich and poor we have to agree on both sides that the rich and poor have a certain gap. That is, the poor have less opportunity to make themselves look knowledgeable and qualified. Therefore, talents consist more of people with a stable financial background with the mechanisms set. The results we have are these talents stay in big companies and gain more profits, while poorer people are stuck with small companies. They don't have a chance to learn and improve themselves in the working environment. No, thank you. But also have to deal with more work pressure, like the risk of losing their job if smaller labels are on the brink of bankruptcy because of the big labels' domination. And finally, the marginalized group are no longer motivated to strive forward. Here comes the lose-lose situation. When you pay everyone the same, as we have been emphasizing to this point of the speech, everyone will be demotivated. The marginalized people realize that they're now paid the same as the rich. They're equal. That's enough. There's no need to try harder or to change the current situation. Even in the best case, when you have helped their life improve by increasing their salary slightly a little bit, you don't get them to strive and completely change their life. And you have a world with no one really trying for what they want, simply because they think that it's enough. You can't change the status quo. You even take away the primary reason why people are determined and make efforts like that is the competition and change. And about trading off the rich, as our first speaker have mentioned before, the rich also have a lot of huge contributions to the society. And when you set them at the same place, at the same position with poorer people or people of marginalized groups, they will start to feel demotivated because they feel like all of their efforts are now wasted. All of their efforts to become this rich, to get to this high position is now wasted. Why do you have to try to try more? And so what's better in our world in comparison? Of course, we accept that injustice is it's impossible to make the world more justice. Instead of trying to blow away injustice, we take it as a motivation for everyone of the labor force. We maintain the marginalized people chances to be promoted, to get to higher positions and having more advantages by giving them something to strive for. As we know that in fact, wealth doesn't completely define our chance of success or promotion, this is the hope for marginalized people to continue striving and following their ambitions. And we also allow these people to work in a more diverse working environment, give them help and guidance to develop themselves and become more experienced by collaborating with higher skilled people, and therefore boost their chance of being promoted, as our model doesn't require extreme equality in labor power. And therefore, once again, I'm proud to oppose.
Thank you so much, the two teams. And now we finished the second round of speeches. It can be clearly seen that the two teams have all prepared very carefully to present arguments and evidence to support their views. And now I want to have a quick chat with two teams, how they think about their their point of view, and do they happy about it? D.A.T.A.B team, could you share what you think about your point of view and the another team, the debate-ophobia team?
Yes, I think we have both really good points of view, and what the government team said was also some of the ideas that we prepared for our government side. So we believe that we are still very positive of our case, and we will continue to wait for our third speaker to say his speech, and we believe in him.
And what about debate phobia team? How do you rate the last speaking turns of your team?
Well, we believe that we have witnessed very great performances from both teams. However, the speech of our Prime Minister has somehow been ignored, since points that are previously made by the opposition team has already been preempted by our first speaker speeches. Although we believe that both teams will still have a great debate today.
Thank you so much. And right now, the third round will begin with the same duration of 8 minutes. I would like to welcome the next members of the opposition team. Văn Anh from the proposition team.
So first, we cannot understand why the opposition keep ignoring the speech of the Prime Minister. We have motivation in overall because the Prime Minister already said it. We believe that all points that the opposition is making has already been preempted by our Prime Minister. As he said about why these fares matters more than salary, it is because the better they perform, the more the company grows, the bigger the value stocks become on the market. As they work more, the more their sale value and their efforts are well paid. So points that are made by opposition team once again are invalid, as they contradict our preemptions. Okay, let's talk about. I will give you some rebuttals. First, you say that equal pay cannot solve the gender equality pressures, but I think equal pay definitely is the springboard to fight against prejudice that has been long put by our society. And two, you say that we could not protect the equality of all kinds of employees, but I think what we're doing is we give people equal opportunities, and how they crave it, how they take it, how it works depends on them. What we mean is that we have equal opportunities, and how they use that opportunity to earn salary or to earn bonus. It's depend on them. So there's nothing unfair here. So okay, okay. I will continue my speech by mentioning some clashes in this debate. The first class is the moral aspect and material. The two class is the moral aspect and material world. Let's talk about the first class, the moral aspect, equity for all employees. And okay, I will compare two policies. First, I have to reclaim that there are two types of discrimination. The first one is different pay is given to the same job, and the second discrimination is jobs different in content but is of equal value receive a different pay. Okay, and I will discuss how the opposition world cannot solve and even exacerbate the problem. Okay, first let's talk about the discrimination when different pay is given to the same job. Even if opposition could solve the problem, I think they ignore the reality that this type of discrimination goes hand in hand with the drive of women into particularly traditional male occupations. And the opposition team did not offer any policy about recruitment, selections, and promotion practice that enhance women access to well-paid male occupations such as electricians, engineers, and computer science. Okay, so in terms of commission, it is bad because if the opposition team cannot offer equal opportunities and equal pay for women, first it will lead to social stereotypes will never be changed, because when you pay two people differently on the same job, you're expressing bias and superiority. And secondly, women will be assumed to learn to imitate male features to be successful or knowledge, because that's what the society is expecting of women on the opposition world. For instance, we all know that men, especially the ones at the top, are more aggressive than women to some extent. So if you don't set an equal pay, society will expect women to have that male traits, and women will expect to behave like men and to be success. And this is morally wrong and prejudice that you could not solve. Okay, so let's talk about discrimination when jobs in different content but equal value. Okay, for this point, opposition team does not solve the problem of job undervaluations. The opposition team still use traditional job evaluation methods, which are full of prejudice and stereotypes. For instance, people have long assumed that women work in a pleasant indoor environment free of discomfort, such as extreme temperatures or noise, and the society and the opposition team thinks that women do not involve in
some extreme conditions. So they should be paid less. And I think this is another prejudice that the opposition team could not solve. So in terms of cognition, it will affect children's mindset. When children grow, or future generation will think that women-dominated jobs are invaluable, and more children will blindly strive to become like science or engineer. So less children understand the need of a housewife, a nurse, or kindergarten teachers. Why did this happen? Because the opposition team do not set an equal pay, so they could not solve the problem of job undervaluation, especially women-dominated jobs. Okay, so let's talk about how our team solved the problem and don't exacerbate the present scenario. First, I think that Prime Minister has done really well in improving why the companies in general and the rich the interests of them cannot be harmed. And okay. First, I would say that the workers are paid equally, especially those in need. The governments give them a salary that meets the universal needs for basic security and the bodies, possessions, and their relationships within society. And we have mentioned the reward and punishment policy, which will give the workers, the employees, motivation to continue their job and to do them efficiently without ignoring their responsibilities. Okay, I will not receive. Thank you. So that policy is they will get bonus. For example, it could be sales company if they work hard, if they work effectively. And I have to reclaim that working long hours doesn't mean that they work, effectively. So in this point, I think you're assuming our team of working long hours to inefficient. So okay, it's about the reward. So let's talk about sorry, I don't get it. Okay. Let's talk about the punishment policy. We use a 3 strikes rule. That means if employees work inefficiently or do not fulfill their job within 1 month, they will get fired. Okay, so that is the warning that our company gives to our employees. And let's talk about our exclusive value is the minority. Okay, so we have a lot of stark targets to discuss here. The first one is the scenario workers. Scenario workers, they're over rich because their income come from different sources in many ways, for example, investment as well. And indeed, the government creates more benefits for senior workers because senior workers are those who work for companies from 3 to 10 years and at least 30. So people at 30, 40 have to balance between their family life and work life. So they need a flexible work hours, and this is what the government is giving them. Is pay them per hours and pay equally. So senior workers in our world can take a rest or go on vacations whenever they want without being afraid of getting fired. Okay, so another minority group is women. It's pregnant women. Normally, the pregnant time of women is it's 40 weeks. So, but in your world, you have not mentioned any policy to give women the salary during that, because in opposition world, women could only receive a SMP, which is a financial aid, if only if they are on the 28 week of pregnant. So the first 27 weeks they do not have salary if they don't go to work, and our team give them the chance to work per hour. It could be like 1 hour a day or 2 hours a day. It depends on them. It depends on their schedule. So we give pregnant women, the minorities, the chance to work flexibly. And research has also found that if women could have a chance to work flexibly, they will have more. The wage pay is much smaller than your world. And yeah, that is the reason why we believe our team to be a winning team today. Thank you.
Thanks, Vân Anh. And now I would like to welcome Quốc Duy from the opposition team.
The term equity your side of the house supporting is that people have the same amount of opportunities to develop themselves and earn more money. But what your side of the house does is that destroy their ambition and motivation to work ultimately. No matter how much opportunities you give, if people don't want to get it, it's useless. I'm the third speaker of the opposition side. I stand here strongly opposed to equal pay cooperative model. My speech consists of two parts. First, I will point out the mistakes that weaken the argument. The second, will compare the impacts given by two sides of the house and prove that we're the winning of this debate. the winner of this debate. Now let's review the points of this debate. First, which team brings about more benefits to corporations? And second, marginalized group will receive more benefits from which side of the house? Okay, now I will point out the proposition mistake in the clarification that makes that weaken the argument. First, it is stated that they will have a council that work as a CEO, but they were not aware that they are agreeing with us that the role of the CEO is important, and that was proposed deliberately by our first speaker. Thank you. And second, you stated that the employees can get bonus, but it's still unfair, as my second speaker has stated, because men's job clearly needs more time. Like AI developer needs more time to develop something, and while women who usually work in receptionists, the bonus is still unequal between men and women. And the third mistake, although you give the punishment for these employees who are lazy, but how about employees who are just work average because they have just limited knowledge backgrounds, or they don't want to work to be they don't want to work to get higher results. They just want to get enough for their life and for their life, and they still get the same salaries with people who work hard, and then this thing will absolutely discourage because of the and these people who work hard will absolutely discouraged by because of the average worker. Because of that, because of the unfairness you still create, the discouragement still happen on your side of the house. And the third one, you cannot explain how the corporation can execute itself without a CEO. Meanwhile, we pointed out clearly that there is a huge risk of it when a company does not have a CEO, that a company cannot make a reasonable decision. A large number of workers in a company are mainly low and average workers, and they don't know profoundly what actually the company needs and commercial tendencies or solving problem skills. Even if you can educate all of your workers, you have to spend a lot of time. Just imagine a CEO needs 24 years of effort to gain experience, and they can be believed that he or she can make decisions for a company. So how much time you need to negotiate all the workers? And even if you can do it, each employee has different ideas and also take a long time to make an urgent decision. Meanwhile, urgent decisions, and meanwhile, a CEO is profoundly knowledgeable. People who get this position through vote usually get this position through votes of shareholders and employees. Therefore, they can make beneficial decisions for a company even in urgent situation, and are highly hardly biased. If he or she not worth that position, suppress employees, these workers are still able to overthrow the CEO and vote for another one. Now let's compare two sides of the house and look at what gets worse on your side of the house and how it is better on our side. Now consider first class to companies. I think it's kind of obvious that we did better on this role. In your word, companies cannot execute themselves, that lower the efficiency and profits. You give the whole employees the same rights to decide the future of the company, while the large number of employees have different things and awareness about company's developments. The decisions usually follow the crowd and don't bring much benefit for the company. In the worst situation, urgent decisions cannot be given because it needs agreement of a large number of the company. In our word, the right and deliberate decisions are made directly by the CEOs. By that way, we can ensure the development of the companies, and even in urgent situation. Moreover, your side of the house has a problem of imbalance in jobs, when people tend to get less effort jobs, like designer instead of AI developer, because they can work in the same company and they can still get the same salaries, right? And from that, it lowers the productivity of companies, and it leads to the lack of workforce in fields and demand in fields that demand more study and more experience and more experience. Now, regarding the second class marginal rights groups benefits, I think we did better is that we give them room to go forward for higher position or higher job. They need to. We need to agree that in status quo, wealthy people have more advantages than others, but this does not completely mean that there are no opportunities for the poor or for women. Like a billionaire Jack Ma has said, you just completely lose the opportunity when you stop fighting it. What happened in your world when people don't have motivation, don't have going to develop themselves? Although you have punishment, the discouragement to still exist in your side of the house, and it was proven by the third speaker of our side, and if you don't have any motivation, it does not mean anything to give them tons of opportunities. How about our world? We cannot give them the same opportunities at the moment, but we successfully give them motivation to take maybe small opportunities that they have. And the status quo also reflected. We have CEO Nguyễn Thị, who is a woman. We have Harry Ford as a successful black CEO. They are successful and they confirm their importance of the marginalized groups, and they also give some policy and give some plans that benefits the marginalized group, and that's how marginalized group gain benefits from our side of the house, and it's absolutely better. After a review, the winner is obvious. We clearly have more benefits in both two paths. We create more benefits with companies and marginalized groups. Because of that, I'm so proud to oppose the motion.
Thank you so much, Quốc Duy. We just got through 3 rounds, and now it's 4 minutes for each team to respond. This is also the last round for the competition, so I hope that each team will be confident to present the most insightful opinions. I would love to invite Thiện Anh from the opposition team.
In this debate, government side have completely left out the cooperative model, only taking into account the equal pay part. They try to say that the marginalized groups will be treated more equally on their side, but don't notice that with this cooperative model, where each individual has an equal right to vote and make decisions, the majority will always win, meaning that the marginalized groups will forever be undermined and unrepresented. We have proof that the CEO will choose the opinion that brings most benefits for the company, and if women or LGBTQI+ people or disabled have a good idea, and they're much more likely to be recognized. They assume that the government has all the money in the world to pay salaries for every individual, even if it means that they don't contribute much to the economy. They try so hard to protect the marginalized, but don't realize that the salary they pay for them comes from the company's economic development. And our side have also very effectively proved that the equal pay cooperative model can badly influence the economic development in our second argument. Okay, let's get deeper into our main 2 problems here. So first problem is the equality for all employees, and the second problem is the motivation of these employees. Okay, so about equality. Government comes here and tells us how we can maintain equality. However, you have to prove that, we have proof that each part in their policy is not valid. It doesn't support the equality goal like bonus, the council, or the salary, even if you give what they talked a lot about gender equality, and they're saying about gender pay gap. However, gender pay gap can also appear in their world when women are tied with other of their duties like motherhood, which is never an extreme case. Like when men are not tied with these pregnancy or motherhood, they can work 8 hours a day. While you have talked about the thing that pregnant women can only work like 1 or 2 hours a day. That is the inequality that you have failed to chase away in your world. And the bonus policy or the council have been rebutted as ineffective in maintaining your world equality. So APA's proved that justice is totally invalid. Justice is totally impossible to get, so we can't fully achieve that, but we can use that in a more positive way. And APA also is trying to say that even when the world is running like it is right now, we can deal with matters of equality. So CEO is also voted, and this person should be fair. Otherwise, they cannot be the CEO in the long term. And second, women and men are equal can still be paid equal because the equal payment law have already been in the status quo that guarantee that the basic salary of women and men is the same. And while government haven't effectively dealt with the backlashes we have given to them in the second speech, which is occupational imbalance and marginalization of smaller companies. About motivation, government only tell us that letting people choose and be flexible with their work would make them more motivated. This is a huge assumption we have pointed out because they don't show us how this is sustainable. When everyone's jobs have different characteristics, you can't assume that their contribution is worth being paid the same. This demotivated people to work at harder tasks but are still paid equally with people who do fewer tasks. And opposition, on the other hand, have proved that injustice is the strongest motivation for all improvement of the labor force. It is the motivation for marginalized people to believe they have to strive harder, and therefore they want to continue to strive and develop, and they have the chance to develop in our world, while in your world, we have proved that they don't. And at the same time, this is also the motivation for rich people or people in the superior group to continue to strive harder and have more contributions to society and also contribute to the development of the marginalized groups people, because this is totally possible in reality, right? And you haven't given enough credit to our argument on this one. So because of that, we believe that opposition side have completely won this debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Thiên An. And now it's time for the debate-ophobia to respond. I would like to invite Anh Minh.
Let's wrap up today's debate with role fulfillment. We have seen the Prime Minister giving up the model for this debate, including definitions that were merged in the speech. Yet the leader opposition did not bring up their policy at all for us to actually compare which model would create a better world. Moreover, our affirmation preemptions have created deterrents for their points from being fully valid, and it has served its purposes fully. What has our Deputy Prime Minister brought about in this debate? She gave out her argument, elaborating how the gap between the rich and the poor will have an upsurge. She rebutted the second speaker of the opposition team. On the other hand, the opposition team delivered a speech about motivation throughout the whole three speeches. Yet this point, once again, is preempted already by our Prime Minister, rebutted by our second speaker, and reaffirmed by our whip. And furthermore, our second argument stands firmly, since their rebuttals focus mainly on what the Prime Minister mentioned earlier. Coming to these ideas that should be once again mentioned, that the government team has successfully won in today's debate. The opposition team claims that the CEO makes sharp decisions. Our world has the same system. They can make decisions as well, and we can still work since finance and accounting are the most important parts of the country, and they still exist in our policies in our work. They make plans for the leaders of the company become reality. We have seen also some ideas about gender inequality from the opposition team, but I believe that they have forgot that we perceptively reduce the prospects of discrimination at workplace. The payment gap between people from opposite sex is fixed, and how the income differ depends on many factors. Payment and income are different. The other side of the house also has a loophole. In their previous point, they said that same position means same salary, and people just have to work enough. This also happened on your side of the house. You did not mention any mechanism of how they will maintain the contribution. The salary on your in your work is given monthly, thanks to your position. Our work, the more you work, the more you get thanks to their contribution. So do we have motivation? Yes. Is it worthy? Yes. Do we protect the poor and the discriminated, which are exclusively existent in our work? Yes, indeed. Therefore, we believe that this point is no longer valid. With the fully accomplished role fulfillment, and furthermore, they said about our company in our work have the fact that we take in all the employees possible. We believe that the opposition team has missed about the job description that was mentioned in our policy with in-depth reviews, interviews, and assessment in order to bring about the best employees to actually make the company grow further and further in a sustainable way. So therefore, we also have the mechanism of maintaining and bolstering the positions and the availability of the waiters to contribute in our company in the government's teamwork. Therefore, with the fully accomplished for fulfillment and some ideas that has already been reaffirmed during the reply speech, we believe that the government teams shall win this debate. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for all of your efforts to contribute to the final round. And I would like to congratulate all of two teams. You have successfully finished the final round of the English division. Ladies and gentlemen, the final match of the debate challenge in the English division has officially ended, and we are getting very close to the final results to find out who is the winner of the debate challenge 2021 in the English division. Before announcing the results, I'd like to ask our judges to share his feedback about two teams. Firstly, I would like to ask Mr. Hoàng Long. Could you share some of your feedbacks for the two teams, please?
Why am I always the first one? Yes, I do have some comments actually I want to share with the teams. The first thing is that I congratulate both teams on having a very interesting debate. I think this is one of my favorite debates so far in the tournament. In terms of because you actually tackled a very similar economic issues and turn it into a social justice debate, which I was so waiting. I was so afraid they would talk about finance and stuff and stuff like that. But no, you actually saw the root cause of the problem, like whether this is all about gender pay gap or the social injustice between the poor and the rich, for example, which is we are trying so hard to fight against, especially in the developed countries. However, I think if we look at more carefully, it's you showing and picking out the problems is a good stage. However, whether you have actually successfully solved that problem that you see is another question. So I think today you did to some extent show us some direction on how can we deal with those problems. But then I think there's lack of nuanced analysis on the exact mechanisms of how you could achieve the goal that you that you claim to have on both sides. And I think to some extent there's actually a lack of engagement with some very interesting points on both sides. I think the debate could be much more interesting. However, looking back, you just high school students and economics is not the subject in our school, right? Yeah. So I was pretty impressed by your performance today. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hoàng Long. You were impressed. And how about Dr. McAuliffe? Do you have any comments for two teams?
I absolutely concur with what you were saying. Some really good points in there. I felt that there was that social justice aspect, and then talking about women's rights and people with various disabilities. I think that's really, really important. However, I think perhaps the actual core root of the problem could have been discussed with greater depth. And using research and statistics, I noticed that there were a couple of, and I made some comments about, using statistics to back up and reinforce your points was really, I found, was the strongest part. Being passionate is really, really important, but using statistics to prove your point is everything. And using research, real research, actually really helps there. And understanding, of course, that you are in high school, but particularly in the first couple of speeches, I found that some research points were made. Sometimes, it's a bit difficult, isn't it? Sometimes when you're thinking about opinions and what people are thinking and all the rest of it is so important. But in these debates, I feel that it is really evidence-based that really helps you win the argument in the end. But all in all, very good, very, very good, very passionate.
Thank you so much. And how about Miss Du Uyên? Would you like to share some of your feedbacks?
Thank you. Congratulations, teams. I think it was a very interesting debate. I really appreciate the fact that you guys came up with arguments regarding justice, inequality, companies' profit. And I think those ideas are actually very spot on, and it was really hard, especially for high school students, to explain those very, very abstract ideas. But I think you guys did a really good job. I also appreciate the skills and the strategies the teams put into this particular debate. However, I felt like in this debate, there were points when you were so close to prove to us why does it so meaningful, why is it so profitable or beneficial when we have to achieve a particular goal. For example, like equality, right? There are many ways to achieve equality. So how much equality, how much equal can your team bring to this debate? And why is it matter that people should sacrifice everything else in order to, achieve that level of equality? So I felt like there are points here and there when teams were very, very close, but still a little bit lack of nuance in the debate. But all in all, I think this is a very good debate, and I am very proud to be chosen to judge this particular round. Congratulations.
And congratulations to teams that you got a lot of good comments from our judges. In just a few minutes, we will know which team will win the debate challenge in the English division. And right now, I am myself feeling extremely excited as well as eager to know the results. However, whatever the result may be, I believe that the performances of both teams today have shown that you are both winners of us. And now I would like to invite the representatives of the adjudicator board to announce the winning team. Please welcome Mr. Hoàng Long.
Hello, teams. First of all, before I start, can you have a round of applause to congratulate yourselves on a very amazingly interesting debate, okay? You've done a very good job. Okay. That is to say, who wins or who loses today doesn't really matter, right? Because at the end of the day, it's a journey of learning, and you're still growing. Yeah, and I hope that you take this result as a point for you to reflect back of what you have learned and what you have done better in your future. Okay? So before I announce the results, I'll have some general comments. Of course, I cannot do a full oral adjudication as usual because it's the finals and we don't have much time. I would love to hear from you guys. You can contact me on social media or on Discord. We can discuss the result a little bit later in details. So, however, there are two main general comments I want to make here. First, on the strength. I think the team today, as I said, made a really good points on what this debate should be about. I personally was impressed by how you turned this economic discussion into the social justice discussion. And tackle different marginalized groups of people and make a very grand debate on an impression on that one. This is not like an usual thing that many debaters in Vietnam have done. So I would like you need to recognize that. I think you are very, very close to the next level of skillful debaters. However, there's something I think we can also learn from this debate, right? However, I think there's something we can also learn from this debate. The first thing is that the level of engagement. Because what makes debating different from other forms of speaking and expression, for example, like public speaking, is engagement from both sides. Okay? And only through engaging can we reach closer to the truth. For example, as Karl Popper, the philosopher, very renowned philosopher, used to say, you may be right, and I may be wrong, but with an effort, we can come closer to the truth. Okay, so engagement is a very essential lesson that I think we need to work on. And it's not like one day lesson. It takes a lot of time for you to match that. So based on this, we can see there's some issues that can be, discussed further, right? And make it more even interesting. For example, like on whether people are motivated purely by money, right? are there other sources of motivation that make you to choose your jobs, one job but not the another? Is this all about money or something like that, right? But because once I dropped on that point, so the discussion ended there, okay? Or another thing about like, okay, if we talk about gender or social justice, right? Then if we're not doing this equal pay cooperative model, then what could be other ways and how do they work, right? So I think the rebuttal part is also very essential, not only because it makes the debate more interesting, but also it forces you to think more carefully about what is the nature of the problems you're trying to discuss. So I expect you guys to explore that phase and fear maybe better in the next tournament and debate. Now, coming to this, let's go for the result part. I think you're waiting for that one. I think this may come to two main questions. The first one is like, on which side of the house we can deal with more, we can deal with social issues like gender pay gap, gender equality, or social injustice, or the social gap between the rich and the poor better at the end of the day. And the second question is that on the economic impact of this policy, but it's also leading back to the question of like, with that economic impact, right, on which side of the house the people can be affected or can get benefited more. So on that question, I think today, prop side came with a very interesting approach of like, okay, how about we just pay everyone the same, right? It can easily make this the problem solved. But I think that one strategic mistake that you made in this debate was that like when you bring up the question of like motivation by the hours of working. So basically it means that the more people work, the higher they get paid. But then I think the opposition today came in a very interesting rebuttal saying that, so if you go for that one, right, if you motivate people by the hours working, let's say it's still the same of money, then men have a lot of privilege to exploit the system that prop tried to build in and actually can somehow worsen the situation or make you or prevent you from achieving the goal of gender equality that you set for your side. So I think there's a major hole in the prop model that makes them less lose that competitive advantage in this debate. So that's why I think, and as I said, right, in my brief feedback, I think you tackled, you pointed out the main, the right problems, but there are lack of mechanisms, nuanced mechanisms from prop to prove to me why all the goals and objectives can be achieved on your side and exclusively by your model, right? So on this point, I think the upside won. On the next part on motivation, I recognize the very interesting point from prop on like why people care about the companies when it's like equal pay and then they will be motivated. But I think upsides seem to be more grounded with more with explanation back up with more evidence to prove that what they say is more likely to be true in reality on why people actually will lose motivation to do important jobs. I think this point can be, I personally do not believe in this one, to be honest, but I think prop lost a chance to engage with this very important point and let the upside to get away from the very important assumption at the end of the day. So that's why I think on the second part of economic impact, I think the upside also won the debate. So that's why the winner of this debate is upside. Woo! Congratulations, D.A.T.A.B.
Once again, I want to announce that the winner is the up team, the D.A.T.A.B. team, and the runner-up is debate phobia. Back to our championship, the D.A.T.A.B. team. How are you feeling right now when you hear our result?
I don't know what to say right now because it's out of our expectation because we actually, the organizing team actually gave us a question about this debate in the finals. They asked us what our motivation in this finals is and what our what we want to gain in this debate, in this finals, and we said that we have nothing to lose, and we just want to come here and learn from other people, and we really didn't expect to actually win because we have been on this on this mindset that we might lose, because this is not our this is not something that econ is not something that we're very good at, and we're also very new to debate. But we're actually very happy to win, and we're very thankful to the prop team for giving us such a wonderful debate. And we had a really good time rebutting and engaging and listening to what the prop team has on this debate. And I think they gave up really good ideas, even though that we won. But I think that prop team is also a very competitive runner-up for us. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We have to say that the result is so close, and without you, we couldn't have such an amazing debate. Once again, thank you so much. Your prize of the winner is 15 million Vietnam dong for the whole team and $12,000 worth of a scholarship at Swinburne, Vietnam for each team member. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now coming to an end of the competition. After exciting and extensive matches since April 2021, with many great performances, we have found the first champion of the Debate Challenge 2021. We would like to send our sincere thankfulness and gratitude to organizing board, the educator boards, the teams and participants, and especially to all of you who are watching and supporting the competition. We hope that through the debate challenge, you have had memorable experience and valuable lessons about debate. Goodbye and see you again.
Lên đường đi đến không độ show thôi.
Đường xa nắng nóng khiến cả nhóm căng thẳng.
Bật xỉu.
200 mét nữa quẹo trái.
Trời ơi, ứng dụng chỉ thế này sao mà đi? Căng thẳng mệt mỏi phải làm sao đây? Hãy uống ngay trà xanh không độ, được làm từ trà thái nguyên giàu vitamin C và VnExpress, giúp tăng sức đề kháng, giúp cực sảng khoái. Không lo căng thẳng, giải nhiệt đường dài. Cùng tìm đường khác giúp mọi người đến đích. Chiêu cùng bạn bè tại không độ show. Có trà xanh không độ, không lo căng thẳng mệt mỏi, giải nhiệt cuộc sống.